بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Dear brothers, sisters, friends, Assalamu alaikum, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world. Alhamdulillah, we are at Cage, very honored and pleased to be able to present to you this exclusive discussion between solely former Guantanamo prisoners from around the world. And as we mark the 23rd anniversary since the opening of the world's most notorious prison, it's sobering to note that the people here right now that are speaking to have between us spent 71 years in prison without charge, without trial, by the world's most vociferous advocate of human rights, freedom, justice, and democracy. And that is one of the greatest ironies of this gathering here today. But beyond that, we will be in for a wonderful discussion because the people we have are from literally from different time zones, different continents, but all with a shared experience. Amongst them, I am the least qualified to talk about the experience in Guantanamo because I spent the least amount of time in comparison to them. And that's why I'm honored to host and allow them to speak on the topics that we want to get out to you. So with us, we have, first of all, the last person that was released from Guantanamo from this group is Sufyan Barhoumi, who's an Algerian who's held from 2002 until 2022. And that's 20 years, 2 decades. And he's joining us from Algiers in Algeria. We have Abdul Latif Nasser, who I had the honor to visit a couple of years ago, who's joining us from Casablanca. He's a Moroccan national, who also was held for almost 20 years in Guantanamo without charge or trial. And we have Omar Khadr, who is a Canadian national. His case is very well known. He was amongst and arguably in some cases, the youngest prisoner in Guantanamo. He is a Canadian national who was held for 10 years in Guantanamo and then a further 3 years in Canada and was eventually released. And his case, as I said, is very well known, especially in the English-speaking world. And we have our own Mansour al-Daifi, whose case is very well known. Again, he spent 15 years in Guantanamo. He was resettled from Guantanamo to Serbia, of all places, where he has continued to fight for the release of Guantanamo prisoners and has joined Cage a few years ago as our head of the Guantanamo projects. So I'd like to first start off, before we even get to Guantanamo, there's one particular case that I recently spoke to the sons of Muhammad Rahim, who is the last Afghan in Guantanamo, who we are trying to some way find a way for him to be released. One of the things his sons told me is that a message came from him from Guantanamo. And he said, if it means that I remain in prison for the rest of my life, that Aafia Siddiqui gets released and freed is more dear to me than me coming back home to my children. That's the message that he'd sent to his kids. Now that's coming from a man who's been held now for 22, coming on to 22 years. So it's a case that I think every one of us prisoners knows. Every one of us has come across. Everyone is deeply kind of aware of it. So I'm going to start first by asking our brother Abdul Latif Nasser, who, as I said, is joining us from Morocco. What sense do you have, Abdul Latif, about Aafia Siddiqui's case, and how does it affect you as a former prisoner of Guantanamo? If you can unmute yourself, Abdul Latif. If you can unmute yourself, you're muted.
Salam everyone, and thank you for having me today. It is my honor to be a part of these events. And I would like to take advantage of this moment to express my gratitude to Cage organization and to all contributors who make this event possible. So as we come together to mark 23 years since the establishment of Guantanamo, we must to reflect on the deep unfairness of its what it represents. So this meeting, it is not just this event. It is not just a meeting to share our testimonies. It is more than that. It is a call to act in this urgent moment. As you know, time is running out, and we must to do something to act so that other people who are still stuck there to be released soon. So regarding Sister Aafia, as we all know, she's a scientist, she's a very educated woman. And if, as a survivor of Guantanamo, I couldn't survive the hardship that I used. I am a man, and even so, the hardship that I went through, it is unimaginable. So imagine for a man, and I have to admit it is unimaginable. And if not my belief in God, that this trial is just a test for me to be patient, I could not survive these horrible things that happened to me as a man. So let alone for a woman, and we all know what she went through. So from this point, I just want to call for everybody to join together and to make what it is good for this sister to be released. That's my point.
Brother Mu'azzam, you're muted. You're muted, Mu'azzam.
Sorry, coming to Omar. Omar, the last time I physically saw you was in Bagram. We've still not met yet physically since that time. And I've been back to Bagram and seen the prison, seen the places where we were together. And I used to hear the screams, probably before you came, I used to hear the screams of a woman in Bagram. As someone that was in that place, someone that experienced that whole period, we've been investigating and finding eyewitnesses to the fact that she was there for 5 years. What goes through your mind? You yourself was just was a young child at that time, but what goes through your mind when you think of a woman in that place, in that horrible place?
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. Thank you so much for letting me speak. SubhanAllah, when I saw some of your interactions in Guantanamo in Bagram, I was a little bit envious and jealous of that, to be able to go there and from a different perspective and a position of, inshallah, power rather than detention. When I went to Bagram, I was 15 years old, and I didn't have a lot of understanding of, like, I knew this was prison and I knew the bad things that were happening, but I didn't hear about Sister Aafia until much later. Like, when I was there, I was just trying to survive and figure out what I'm doing amongst a lot of adults and, you know, interrogators and soldiers, and just it was a very odd and very violent environment. And, you know, everything that I've went through that was documented, I was told by my interrogator right before I left how lucky I was with the abuse that I got, that I was very lucky to have been injured because they didn't give me the full treatment So I can only imagine what Sister Aafia has gone through. You know, the world, you know, more recently, I've been thinking about what the West has left the East with. And they talk about human rights, they talk about women's rights. Like right now in Syria, everybody's, you know, going off about, you know, making sure to protect minorities and women's rights and all of that. And you just see in the reality that that is all just a sham and it's just fake. And I can, like, I've experienced some stuff myself, and I've seen other people who are abused and tortured. I can only imagine a lonely woman with nobody with her, and the extent, like the US has nobody to stop it. The extent that they would have, what they might have, and I'm sure have done to her is just something I can't even imagine. It's just appalling that, you know, here we are in the 21st century, we're talking about, you know, that a woman should not be abused and should not be tortured and should given due process. It's just mind-boggling, especially me being and living in the West here.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you for that reflection. Sufyan, I wanted to ask you, you know, Aafia Siddiqui has been described, when I go to Guantanamo, you must have heard of Clive Stafford Smith from Guantanamo. He's a lawyer for many of the prisoners. When I go with him to Bagram and to Afghanistan, he has said at press conferences in Afghanistan where there are people present who themselves were in Guantanamo, including some of the leadership there now in Afghanistan, he says that she is the most oppressed woman in the world. And he's represented people on death row, in prisons, in Guantanamo and beyond. So, Sufyan, I wanted to ask you, in your experience, in your understanding, when you've come across Aafia's name, what is it that goes through your mind as a man, as all of us as men? And something that Abdul Latif said very, very powerfully is that as a man, I could barely bear it. So what goes through your head when you hear about the case of Aafia Siddiqui?
Bismillah. Thank you for having me today. And good morning, good evening to everyone, human being who's believe in justice and equality in this world and terrible world what happened. Even my sister, when I heard about Sister Aafia, seriously, honestly, from my bottom of my heart, I can even my brother Latif, he mentioned it, and Omar mentioned it. We can survive. We are weak, and God give us His strength to continue it, because a man is not cannot like a woman. Woman is double suffering. We can't imagine how she's feel now, how she's suffering. I am my experience for my own. Thanks to God, I still function. My mind still function because there's a lot has happened over there, and especially in U.S. prison, as torture. You can imagine it's bad the treatment, and you can imagine what I hope. I hope for everyone hear us and believe in justice. Fight for Aafia Siddiqui, our sister, or all sisters in prison in different places. And all women, even it's not Muslim, all women, they put him in justice and in a prison, because it happened a lot. Okay, and Aafia Siddiqui is she's innocent because of her husband, but it's not right what they do to her. I hope, inshallah, soon. I feel her. I go pray for everyone on prison and for her. It's painful. What can I say? I can say more on that. And yeah.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much for that. Mansoor, you know, this is the 23rd anniversary, and we of course talked about what should we have discussed. And you asked and suggested that the first thing that we speak about is Aafia Siddiqui. Alhamdulillah, there is now a petition, and that petition has reached more than 1 million, and it's one of the biggest petitions in history in terms of prisoners. And the petition is asking for clemency for Aafia to be released, not because the clemency is that she committed the crime, therefore she should be released. It's because the process itself is so unjust that when we try to reopen the case, it's going to take such a long time. And so the attempt is to seek a pardon in the past few days before Biden leaves. But Mansour, tell me, why did you want this to be at the top of the agenda on this 23rd anniversary of Guantanamo?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يا هلا ومرحبا حبوا حياكم الله أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا مليون. Brother Mu'azzam, one of the hardest things, knowing that I have been in the black site. I have been in Kandahar. I have been in Guantanamo for years. I have been on hunger strike, force feeding, nudity. We have been through a lot, all of us. So knowing how American treat their own prisoners, what they did in the black side to the brothers and the sisters. When I heard about Sister Aafia Siddiqui in Guantanamo, that was one of the hardest things ever. As men, we can handle it. As men, we can take the beating. All this too much. But imagine a woman, a mother who was kidnapped, his child was taken from her, one of her child was killed, I believe so, and the other kids were taken away. And moreover, she was tortured, she was raped, she was beaten, and moreover, she was sentenced to 70 or 80 years. For what? What crime she committed? Absolutely nothing. And when Clive sees the most oppressed woman in the world, she is. And we can see the hypocrisy and the double standard of the Western system. Talk about human rights, about women rights, about Afghani women, about women there and here. And yet, they oppress a woman, a prisoner, the one she tortured, abused, raped, and sentenced. So I ask you, Brother Mu'azzam, to talk about this case because I believe it is one of the most important cases. We all should fight for the release of our sister, regardless, and all the sisters. Every single day, I start 4 years ago try to do something, but all I can take hold of photo. I'm like, free Aafia. And I was criticized, I was like, stay away, she's, and so on and so on. Then I started reading about the case, more educating myself about the case, what happened to her. And I was shocked. Last time I listened to you in London giving the speech about what happened to her. Honestly, I don't think I can handle what she has been through, because I didn't have children. I'm not a mother, because many of the brothers were tortured, were raped, and many brothers didn't make it to the black site. So yeah, this is the case we should all demand her release. Simple as that. It's really important cases. And I would like sincerely thank every single one who contributed to the petition. And we need to keep the fight to release our sister.
Thank you very much, Mansour, for that. So there are still 15 prisoners held in Guantanamo, and we want to talk about the prisoners there. And we, of course, if we get time, we want to talk about those who have been released. 15 prisoners are still there. Mansour, you've got some of those pictures right behind you. And of course, one of those key cases is Abu Zubaydah's, which I want to get onto. But two questions I have, and perhaps anybody, whoever wants to, just put your hand up and say, I can answer this question. I'm not necessarily going to come to each person one by one. That of these 15 prisoners, what sense do you get that they have seen that these brothers have all been released, 11 to Oman, the Yemenis, 2 to Malaysia, and 1, Abdul Malik, to Kenya. What do you think is going to be going through the heads or the minds of some of these prisoners? That's the first question. And the second is, how do you think the Trump administration is going to deal with who's left? If there's anybody want to answer that question, or should I come to you one by one? Just put your hand up if you want to answer that question. What do you think is going through the minds of the brothers who are still there, knowing that their release is taking place? What was going through your mind when people were being released and you were still there?
Brother Madhav, I'd like to start with that question because I have been following these cases for years and years, and especially those brothers who have been cleared for release, and yet they were informed last year they would be released in a matter of a week. Families were informed that your relatives will be released, and being held for over a year, it was a devastation for everyone. Getting to the hope. When I was talking to my lawyer when she visited Guantanamo, I asked, how is the brother? She said, well, it seems they don't want to talk about it anymore, because that was a big shock for them last year, being told you will be released, and yet they didn't release. They were kept for over a year. And when Trump won the election, it was another shock for them. They said, we are not going to leave. But alhamdulillah, as Muslims, we have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that everything in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the reality is, brother Mu'azzam, when you in prison on torture for over 2 decades, and yet another someone will come to the White House and promise to keep Guantanamo open and promise not to release anyone. It is hard. I'm not gonna say hard because hard is undermining. It is means you sometimes you think I'm going to die in that place. I don't think we'll see the freedom. So only in this situation, what you have in your heart, faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Abdul Latif, considering you, I was going to say, Abdul Latif, you are the last one out of this group here that was freed from Guantanamo, I believe. Oh no, sorry, it was Sufyan. But nonetheless, you have a lot of experience of people leaving one group after the next, another person, many people leaving from Guantanamo over the years, and you're still there. How did you react to that knowledge that people are being released and you're still there?
Yeah, honestly, about the people, the brothers that are still there, and we are looking the Trump is now become the next president of the United States. Honestly, out of my experience, it happened to me. I was cleared in 2016, and I was waiting to travel, and I was waiting to be transferred. Me and Shafiq and Tawfiq. So, and by the way, the day that it is the election, the day that was the last day of the election, while they are counting the numbers, we couldn't sleep all the night. We are just waiting who will be the next president. So when Trump declared that Trump it is the president of the United States and not Hillary Clinton, believe me, I couldn't sleep almost maybe 3 days, just because I know it is maybe 4 days, maybe 4 years, and maybe 8 years, and maybe even more than that. Maybe he will put someone or from his party, and maybe that means I will stay in detention indefinitely. So not just me, Shafiq, Tawfiq, and at that moment I start to feel, how can I overcome these sleeplessness that I was all of a sudden affected with, and it is all because Trump he became the president. So at that I remember there is a book, it's called in Arabic قصة الحضارات. It is a story of civilization. So I read in that book that when Napoleon was exiled, okay, and it happened with him that he couldn't sleep for all the nights. He stayed for so he complained to his doctor about his sleeplessness. So he told him, you have to work all day. You have to keep working all day. Don't take a break. Try to make a day hard for you so that you can go at the night and to sleep. And what exactly we started to do, me, Shafiq is here, and Tawfiq. We used after dinner, we used to keep working until we get tired, so that we can go and have some sleep. So I just want to show you the nightmare that it came to us when we heard that this is Trump now it's become the president. So I feel that the same things those brothers will feel, because they know what mean Trump for them. They see this the bad of the bad, and they will keep the Guantanamo open, and they will bring other people to come there. So I just pray Allah for them for to be so strong, and for some kind to be released. Something, yeah.
I mean,
and that my point. It is, I just want to chill all this issue, because I want people to do something for at least for the people that are already declared, for the people that they can be cleared and they don't need, they have no accusation and they have no trial.
That's an important reflection, Jazakallah khair, Abdul Latif, because unfortunately, that what happens with Guantanamo is that because it's gone on for so long, there's people's asking questions: is that still open? Are there still prisoners there? And the periods, the short periods that we get any traction in the media is on the anniversaries and when somebody's released, and perhaps if that is it, we don't hear anything else. So, Shafiq, Sufyan, you've been mentioned a few times in relation to that experience, because you're one of the last people to be released.
Yeah.
So, tell me, what could you add to what Abdul Latif has just said in terms of what do you think is going through the minds of the
what is nightmare, as he said, he's mentioned about the story about what he said. We are 3 or 4 because we have, Obama administration. We have clear from review board, 2016, like in September, I think August. After that, I've been prepared to get released. They say everyone who have release paper is supposed to leave. After the last group, January, I think 17, 2017. Believe me, I couldn't sleep for 3 days or more at that. And that we see an airplane when they leave, and they leave. Wallah, swear to God, you can't imagine how we feel. We can walk and keep all night walking, thinking, oh, maybe like a full hour. I'll be going, maybe get. It's terrible experience, but we accept our destiny, because destiny, we are believe, or as Muslim, we accept our destiny. But he was painful, and they put it behind it one time. So quickly, I have phone call with my lawyers. I refused to go, and the guard called my brothers. I say, you have to wake up him. You have to go. I say, why? He said, you have to go. They know the news. When I went there, his lawyer, he surprised me, shocked me. He say, I don't think so, Sufyan will be released and this time. They put you 5 names behind it. And in December, the end of December, maybe less than 2 weeks left for Trump administration, for new president. And it was like this experience. I feel what they feel, and also when people get released and group by group, I feel happy for them. But in the meantime, be honest, as human, I feel sad. I feel sad. I want to go. Like they have chance. I've been experienced through I have military commission twice. Twice. It was like a very hardship for me, and also for my disability. But I feel what they feel. I hope they get released soon, inshallah. We can do. We do fight for them. We pray. And thank you, Mozambique, for all your effort, and Mansour, or for Cage, and everyone help get most cases and the situation. Thank you very
much. Thank you. Omar, your return, of course, was different, and your experience of getting out from Guantanamo was similar to the cases of those who get sent straight from Guantanamo, not to resettlement or to repatriation, but to re-imprisonment. And there have been several cases. There were the guys who were sent, 23 prisoners sent to the UAE, of which I spoke to several of them in Afghanistan, who were sent from Guantanamo to the UAE. And I spoke to one prisoner who said that his ordeal, he'd been imprisoned by the Soviet Union during the Afghan jihad, he'd been imprisoned by the Americans in Guantanamo, and he'd been imprisoned in the UAE. And he said that was the worst of his prison experiences in the UAE, because they were Muslims and the expectation was something, to be treated better. In your case, Omar, you were re-imprisoned in Canada before you were freed, and then eventually got an apology from Trudeau. But how did you look at the cases of people being released? Did you think, oh, when I'm going home, I'm actually going to go home? Or were you already aware that you're going to go from one prison to the next?
Alhamdulillah. So my release has humbled me a lot. I've always mentioned that subhanAllah, going through prison has, like, I was raised in Guantanamo, and I went in with a lot of inferiority complex about, the West and what it means to be in the West, and I always thought that the best thing in the world is the West. And bit by bit that got chipped away. It's not the West. It's, it's good human beings. So as I said, I grew up, so every time I would have a certain expectation, it would be let down, whether it's, oh, okay, I got arrested by the Americans, can't be that bad. And then I went through Guantanamo and I'm like, sheesh. I was excited about going back to Canada. I'm like, halas, we're going back home. There's laws and stuff. I came back and I was let down again. And it's teaching me and it's making me grow that, we live in a very populous society. And, I know certain governments might have certain policies, but in the end, they're all, two sides of the same coin. I live here in Canada. A lot of people say I'm lucky, whether for the apology or settlement or whatnot. But it's not about me, and it's not about us individuals. It's about everybody. It's about the idea that a certain group of people could be misused and abused and their rights being taken away. That is what it's about. And that's right now is what I'm trying to focus on. Like I can't imagine what people are going through in Guantanamo. And I hope, and inshallah, like I have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, they've held on to their faith, because that's what kind of kept me from going astray and from losing my mind. And I have faith that Allah has protected them and they've come out better and stronger people. And, this life is all a journey for all of us. Allah decides, what's going to happen to each one of us, what we can handle. And just because we have gone through these hard experiences doesn't mean that it's over for us, that we've done what's required of us. Our responsibility will keep on going, whether it's fighting for Aafia or whether fighting for the rest of the people in Guantanamo or any other, prison outside, out there.
Thank you, and Jazakallah khair for that reflections.
You're muted, brother Malcolm.
We've got the picture of Abu Zubaydah behind him, and Abu Zubaydah is one of the cases that's very close to most of us, or to many of us. To me, I knew Abu Zubaydah from before. I knew him. One of the questions you have to ask is, why, as a Palestinian, would anybody go to Afghanistan? Why would you be there? And the reason is because of what's happened to you as a Palestinian, what's happened to your homeland, where you've come from, what you've experienced. And in his diaries, he writes, I feel like I'm a humiliated individual who is a person with no land to call his own. And that, so many decades later, is so true, so visible. Abu Zubaydah suffered, the entire torture program was developed to try to break Abu Zubaydah, putting him in a coffin alive, forcing him to be subjected to waterboarding 83 different times, being sent to all of these different black sites around the world, from Thailand to Poland to Lithuania to Romania. And then, the irony and the hypocrisy is that Abu Zubaydah gets compensated by the European courts of human rights, forced upon these European nations, yet he remains in Guantanamo. So I want to ask Sufyan, if I could. I know that you were imprisoned with him, you captured alongside him. You have some knowledge and understanding of Abu Zubaydah's case from history. Could you share with us your thoughts, please?
Says Abu Zubaydah is a very nice guy. He's educated, okay. I know him for sure. Even the American, they admit, they say he's not from Qaeda. It is for 100%. As you know, everyone knows Qaeda is a state title. They play as ticket. They play what they want, and this is politics everywhere. Just names, okay, just names. Abu Zubaydah is was captured that night with his shot with his stomach, almost lost his life, and we are like without nothing. We don't have no arm, no nothing. With American, CIA come with the special forces, and Abu Zubaydah is supposed to be treated right and is supposed to be released because, as you mentioned, he don't have any land. He suffered his life. He has a lot his face, and Afghanistan is a simple person. It's not like that. He just help people, charity there, and nothing like to have anybody. But as what happened to him is not right in him or anybody else. If you can ask me a question, but this is what I come to my mind now. Yes, that night was terrible, and I never forget about that night. And one guy is passed away. He's lost his life, and one of the guys is shot also. I mean, I'll get lucky. They beat us a lot, okay, that night. Special forces, Pakistani, and it was a terrible night, okay. Yeah, this would come to my mind. If you ask me a question, I would be happy to answer.
No, thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people don't understand the role played by not just the Pakistani government, many governments. They all took part in the renditions program, in the outsourcing of torture. As I said, Abu Zubaydah was sent right across European nations, some that are part of the European Union. So I wanted to ask Mansour, in relation to Abu Zubaydah's case, why do you think Abu Zubaydah, he's not charged with a crime, and they don't intend to charge him with a crime, they don't intend to put him through the military commissions process? Why is that? What is it that Abu Zubaydah has done or has had done to him that you think he's such he becomes a forever prisoner?
Reflecting on Abu Zubaydah saying, the first time I mentioned that because the first time we studied in a school about Palestine. But the first time I watched TV, when I was to Sana'a to my aunt, I watched the news. And the first scene I watched from Palestine was a group of butcher Israeli soldiers holding a kid and breaking his hands, his joint with the stone. I was screaming at my aunt, like so mad, so angry. And I'm still until that day, because that really still the first, I was like, why nobody helping those? What's going on there? What happened there? And if you tell me, if they done to my country, to my people, I don't know what's going to do. So Abu Zubaydah is the most tortured prisoner in the CIA history. As you know, CIA contracted to psychologists paid over $400 million to develop what they call enhanced interrogation technique, a torture program. And one of the subjects was experimented on was Abu Zubaydah. And they brag about it. Dar Rumsfeld, he said, I would do it in a second. So Abu Zubaydah was tortured and abused. The reason they don't want to release him, because what they have done to him. Well, they call him the forever prisoner. That means they're not going to charge him or try him because they know he's an innocent, and they don't want to release him because what they have done to him. Abu Zubaydah is a living testimony to the United States crime and war crime. So in short words, that's the reason they don't want to release Abu Zubaydah. Like the same thing, one of the reasons they don't want to release Sister Aafia, the same thing, because what they have done to her. So now he's still in Guantanamo. And Brother Mu'adham, is the first time in history you would find the forever prisoner. Like in which law, in which constitution? Tell me, please, have you ever heard about the forever prisoner?
Indeed, I mean, Mansour, that's really important because there's a book called The Forever Prisoner, and indeed there's a film made by Alex Gibney, who also made the Taxi to the Dark Side, which talked about the murders that we witnessed in Bagram. So all of this is happening, and it's like one of the most prominent cases, it's perhaps the most prominent case in Guantanamo. and yet Abu Zubaydah is not being freed. I completely believe, and everybody believes, is because of not what he's done, it's what was done to him. Indeed, if we look at all of the brothers here, you're all imprisoned because of a perception, not because of something that you actually did, but because of a perception. Abdul Latif, I wanted to ask you, not necessarily Abu Zubaydah's case, perhaps one of the other 15 that are still there, maybe any of the other brothers that are still there. Do you have any recollection of what kind of people they were and what kind of things they may have gone through that were different to what you'd gone through? Or do you have some comment on Abu Zubaydah's case? Either or, one or the other.
Yeah, regarding Abu Zubaydah case, for example, here I have in BBC that as you mentioned that the European Court of Human Rights has found the countries like Lithuania and Romania violated human rights by allowing the CIA to operate secretly detention facilities as known black site, where Abu Zubaydah was subjected for torture. This one. The other one, it is recently in a report. They said United Nations experts have called for Abu Zubaydah immediate release, emphasizing that his ongoing detention without charge is a violation of international law and human rights. These, especially for Abu Zubaydah. So the European, the human rights, the European Court of Human Rights, these United Nations experts. So especially Abu Zubaydah, we want this man to get released, but no one care about all these voice. No one care about this. So that's mean that it is the same thing that it happened with what is going in Gaza. Look what is going in Gaza. Because it is in Gaza, everything gets stopped there. As long as it is Gaza, they have not the right to have this. They have not the right to have this. They have not the right. It is as you see. It is like because he is a Palestinian, so he should win through all. And I'm sure that if Abu Zubaydah has another nationality other than Palestinian, with all these issues that it is mentioned here in the court and these things, I'm pretty sure he would have already has released. Yeah,
that's a powerful observation. That's a very powerful observation, and I think there's no getting away from the fact that the United States created its entire torture program built by psychiatrists, by psychologists who were funded to the tunes of millions of dollars in order to try to break Abu Zubaydah, the Palestinian, who their intelligence was completely false. It was totally wrong. Like Shafiq said, he was not a member of Al-Qaeda, and they knew that. They knew that he had no role in 9/11. They had no prior knowledge. They knew that he had not been involved in anything against the United States of America. He just wanted his own home to be able to go back to, and that in itself has become a criminal, but also what was done to him. Omar, I was going to ask you that when you hear about the torture of Abu Zubaydah, one of the things, I don't know if you've heard of this, but Abu Zubaydah for a period of time was placed in a coffin while he's alive, and he's naked, and he has to pray. So I don't know if I don't know if anybody of us has gone through this one, but we've all gone through performing our prayers in ways we couldn't. I remember my first prayer was on a plane with my hands tied behind my back and my legs shackled and my hood over my head. I'm sure you guys have gone through different aspects of that. But Abu Zubaydah's one, having to pray with no clothes, no wudu, no qibla, none of the most basic pillars of prayer, and yet he'd have to pray in that situation. How would you kind of quantify a person's iman, his faith, in that kind of situation? How would you deal with that kind of situation?
Of course, like Allah has given him the ability to withstand this, and that's, we believe, la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah gives only people what they can handle. And subhanAllah, Islam is a faith that would work at any time under any situation, because it's the core of our life. It's the anchor in our lives. It's, people can take away everything from you except your faith. You have to give that to them. And I believe because, Allah has given him the ability to hold on to his faith, that he's able to stay sane. I'm sure that he's as hurt as he might be, and as broken as he might be physically, but I think spiritually he's very strong. May Allah reward him and make it easy on him.
Ameen, ameen, ameen. Okay, before we continue, I just wanted to ask those viewers who are watching, please do send in your questions. Put your questions, type your questions into the YouTube comments or into Facebook or wherever you're watching, and I will endeavor to answer them, get them answered by our guests, inshallah. So I wanted to get to a little bit more now with you guys and your personal stories a little bit. I understand that could take, asking you to be brief with problems is really difficult, right? But if you could, and I'll start with Sufyan.
Yeah.
Tell me, after your release, if you could tell me just one or two problems, the top problems that you're dealing with as a former prisoner released from Guantanamo, trying to rebuild a life that's been taken away from you.
Okay. When I get released, of course, I am news and I'll be happy. I was so happy, okay, to get back to my family. For so long, I was like almost over 27 years, okay, from my country. I was youngest, okay. I was more than half of my life, out, behind, not with my family, okay. My mom, my brothers was the youngest. Anyway, when I get release, I'm thinking about a face in Algeria. I know it's not good condition over there. If you have chance for it, if they choose me, they say, okay, you want to go to a different country? I say yes. No, my country, I don't have any problem in my country, but I know I'll go face problems, because right now, and when I get released, I try very hard to get on my feet, okay? To try to find a job, go there, ask around. Even Muazzam asking for his help, he helped me a lot. And I have my brothers, but even now, I couldn't get on my feet. Honestly, with the abilities, okay? Is difficult from our North Africa, for example. We don't have any support from government, but a different country like Oman, like Arabia Saudi, like Europe, they have some kind of support, like house, some the food, medical, all this care. But now I'm thinking about how for my age, and also not just me, Ablatif, our brothers, a lot of brothers, or my disabilities, as my hand like that. They don't hire me because they say our case say Sufyan Barhoumi was in Guantanamo. Oh, we can hire this guy, and also disability for my age, 51 now. But I have hope from the God, to not give up, be myself, and keep trying until achieve my goal. And I hope get soon, everyone. Thank you, Mazam.
Inshallah, there is a fundraising page to support Sufyan. Please, if our team can share it onto the comments, that it would help Sufyan to restart, to do his own business. Please, if we can share that, and once again at the end, we will make sure that is shared with our viewers. Omar, you've dealt with problems of a different sort after your release, quite different to I mean, us guys in the West, generally, we're far more privileged, and we have to be thankful to Allah in that sense. But also there is a different aspect. You've had to deal with hatred and Islamophobia and different aspects of people not leaving you alone. How have you managed to navigate any of that or all of that?
Assalamu alaikum.
The answer is clear. It's the photo. You see the photo with fists.
Am I unmuted now? I don't know why my...
We cannot see you. You're muted. Yeah, you're good now. Like, unmute yourself. Turn your camera on. Oh. You're muted now, Omar.
Omar, we're seeing the Wolverine. And there you go.
Okay.
The Wolverine is now converted back into Omar again. But we're seeing you sideways. We're not seeing you straight. Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We hear you. Did you hear my question?
Yes, I did hear your question.
Okay. Right.
So you were asking about Islamophobia and racism. I still deal with it on and off here in Canada. Unfortunately, I just isolated myself. I keep to my community. I have, like, I initially have, after I was released, I thought, you know what, I'll just have a low profile and just get out of the media and just not do anything. Maybe that will get them to leave me alone and you know, lay off the persecution. But I've noticed that, unfortunately, in the time that we're living in, you have to fight for yourself, and you have to fight for others, because once we isolate ourselves, they will, you know, pick on us individually, and we need to stand up together to fight. So,
do you think, Omar, that kind of whatever came with, in terms of you being the former Guantanamo prison in Canada, because there are no others, do you think that has? Don't tell me tell me some of the positives of that. Are there any positives that's come out of that in terms of how people see you?
About Canada, or coming back to Canada?
About Canada, yes.
Of course, there's a lot of, like, as I said, I have a lot of faith in individuals. I've just lost faith in institutions. There's a lot of amazing people here in Canada and abroad. Unfortunately, here in Canada, we're very influenced by American politics. So right now, it's very popularistic and Trump oriented. So Canada is kind of going in that direction. And, you know, people are worried, but I'm not too worried, because, as I said earlier, they're two faces of the same coin. It just reminds us that we have to stand up as citizens and individuals. We have to stand up with each other to make sure that our governments represent us and not represent the small 1% elite, or people who control the media, or people who control the economics. But there's a lot of amazing people. I have amazing neighbors. There's a beautiful community. And subhanAllah, right now, as unfortunate as what's going on in Gaza and Palestine, I think it's waking up humanity to the reality of what's going on in the world, and the reality of politics, and how we as citizens have to stand up together. Irregardless of our backgrounds, we have to stand up together, and we have to see the politics and politicians for what they actually are. They don't represent us. Democracy, or the so-called democracy, is not really democracy when you have an option of Trump or Biden, somebody who's promising to destroy Gaza, or somebody who's been assisting in the destruction of Gaza. So, yeah. Sorry, I don't want to.
I had a very I had a very interesting meeting with somebody on an airplane. I was coming back from Afghanistan, and there's a guy who recognized me. He's an Afghan Canadian, and he said, you know, we got talking, and he said that I said, I remember seeing that there was a demonstration for Palestine, and somebody was wearing somebody's carrying the flag of the Islamic Emirate, and he said that was me, and so I was just on the same way that he was talking about how they felt towards Afghanistan and towards Gaza and towards what was taking place. It was wow that this link with Canada could happen randomly on this airplane. So that's just a reflection. When Abdul Latif, I was going to ask you, sorry, Mansour, sorry, I didn't come to you. Mansour, you've had a particularly interesting set of experiences after your release from Guantanamo. You came to Serbia, of all places. And it boggles my mind because I went to Bosnia when I was a young man and tried to assist the Bosnians in defending themselves and helping themselves and so forth. I find it's still to this day that you're sitting in Serbia, of all places, and have been this powerhouse of campaigning against Guantanamo. Just give me one or two problems that you've had to deal with when you returned, when you were resettled.
Well, you remember when I called you when I was released, like, hey, Brother Mu'addam, the first time ever I spoke to you, like, you're in Serbia. I said, Serbia. I said, yeah, Serbia. So yeah, my ass was kicked. I was arrested. I was beating. I was, life after Guantanamo, Brother Mu'addam. And as you experience that, living in the stigma, being in having like a network of support, not speaking the language, not have families, plus you are being under surveilled, and I can go on and on and on. And I have been doing a lot of research, a lot of cases about life after Guantanamo. Inshallah, when Brother Abdul Latif finish, I can give a summary about life after Guantanamo, or should I go now?
Well, if we've got a few questions, come from our
okay, I will give a summary, like 1 minute, about life after Guantanamo. So basically, life after Guantanamo in general, where if brother were released to Western Europe, like I think they have better chance to have a good life. But if they sent either to the home countries or other countries like Eastern Europe or Kazakhstan or United Arab Emirates, people face a lot of challenges, difficulties, including death, torture, imprisonment, stigma, no legal status, not be able to, they don't have deprived of their civil rights. Basically, those cases still until now, we are working in missing brothers in some countries, including the brother who was sent to Tunisia. We have no idea. We're still tracking that case until that day. We have brothers who strip of their citizenship. We have brothers who become homeless. And as you know, CASE has a project, Guantanamo project. We are working on those cases and trying to, as much as we can. We started Guantanamo Survivors Fund, where we raised some fund and sent it to the former Guantanamo prisoners who go through a lot. This is just in short summary.
Thank you, Mansour. That's really important that we have that, because we need to understand that Guantanamo doesn't end once a prisoner is released, and there are every kind of problems, as Sufyan has explained, as Abdul Latif has explained, and as Omar has explained, and as you have indeed. So there's a couple of questions. I think there's 2 questions here. Was the same question for Omar? It's the same person. Omar, there's a question for you. Omar, please tell us how your life is affected when you're released and how the community treat you. You're on mute, Omar.
So when I initially was returned to Canada, I was put in maximum security. I was put back in isolation. I was in prison for another 14 months before I was released with bail restrictions, with a lot of bail restrictions. Some of them are very, like, where I was restricted from practicing my faith or speaking Arabic, or so some practices that are very, very barbaric. And
sorry, I just want to stop you there for a moment. They stopped you from speaking Arabic?
Yes, I was restricted from speaking Arabic to my family.
Ya Allah.
Yeah. And like, especially for us here in Canada, we have the reconciliation with Aboriginals and First Nation people, and how we restricted them from practicing their faith or speaking their language. And here, it's a mentality. It's a mindset that we say that we've grown from it, but not really. So I was released on very strict conditions for, I think, 6 years after that, where I was kind of suspended, where I wasn't free and I wasn't in prison. I had seriously considered going back to prison because I thought, you know what, I have a sentence. I had to take a plea deal that would release me from Guantanamo, and now I'm quote unquote free, but I still can't do anything because my sentence is suspended. So I was considering going back to prison. And then thankfully we went to court and they found part of the law that kind of expired or ended my suspended sentence because of how long I've been waiting. The community has been positive, very supportive mostly. You have the odd miserable person here and there who have or just, I think they're just miserable, and I just don't have any time or mind space to give them to be bothered by them. But they're real. I was harassed, I was assaulted, but alhamdulillah, inshallah, Guantanamo didn't take me down. I'm not going to leave these things take me down. The community has been really well. The Muslim community has been really well. Community here in Edmonton has been really nice. So alhamdulillah, I don't have any complaints. As I said, individuals, I don't, like I have, this whole experience has brought me a lot of faith in the goodness that Allah has put in people. But I don't have much faith in institutions, and that's why we need to stand together.
Thank you, thank you. It's a general question from one of our viewers, and I'll put it perhaps to Abdul Latif, and maybe also Sufyan, both of you, because you've had the longest experiences, as it were. He says, we hear a lot about torture in Guantanamo, but can you give us insight on a normal day in Guantanamo, apart from the torture? How is it possible there's friendships occurred between some of the prisoners and some of the soldiers? Perhaps Abdul Latif, if you can answer that first. Just an example of a normal day in Guantanamo, and where there's no abuse. It's just a normal day. Is there such a thing?
Honestly, there is no normal day, because at least every day we use this. I'm talking this in the last years, not the beginning. In the last years, at least you have to be searched at least once a day. So imagine you are fine, you are so enthusiastic all day, but during the lockdown, you will be some kind of tension will be erupted between you and the guard during the search, because the search in a very degrading way. They are not searching for some time, because what does mean to come to search me every day during lockdown? What do you think I have? So, but they are just doing sometimes just to not let you feel that you are relaxing and you are free in your time. So that the issue is happening. So there is no, honestly, there is no normal. Even look for my situation. Even the day of my release, when they came to me, they came just 10 minutes before lockdown, and they told me, look, Abdul Latif, you have to move from this block, where we want to take you to another block. I said, okay, why? They said, don't ask. You just take your Quran and you will move. Where? We don't know. You have to move. Oh, exactly this. They took me away, and I find out that it is the last time I can see my brothers. So imagine, even if during your release, they don't want you to feel some kind of happiness. You don't want you to feel that they are brother and you have to hug them, and you have even look what I mean. That's the point here. So there is no normal. Honestly, for me, there is no normal.
Thank you, Abdul Latif. That's Jazakallah khair. It's really important that people hear this, because the friendships and bonds that develop within prison, especially in a place like Guantanamo, when you're isolated from the entire world, no family, no phone calls, no communication. This brotherhood that builds up, it happens as a result of the environment, but also of your faith. And when you're separated, to not even be able to say assalamu alaikum, goodbye, is also kind of the final act of oppression and brutality. So I totally understand that. Sufyan, I was going to ask you a similar question in terms of what to you, how would you describe, if there's such a thing as a normal day in Guantanamo? And the question I asked, I know this happened with me, but it happened in the early days, but how is it possible that in some little cases there could be some kind of friendship or association between prisoner and guard?
What shall I say is not stabilization and Guantanamo. They don't leave you alone. Okay, for example, you go medical. Some of the guard minority, okay, they were nice. Okay, my majority, they give you hard time. Okay, you have with the shackle. When they move you, you have some face doctors. You always have every day like a weather, you know, it's change. You not in mental and your mind. You're gonna have phone call. They cut off a phone call for any reason. They say you are broke rules. This is our life for 20 years, ups down. You know, not like this is normal day. I don't talk about torture physically. It happened to me. It happened to a lot of brothers physically. Take clothes off, no sleeping, music, noise, screaming, a lot. But they call program the
frequent flyers program.
Yes. I'm not talking about that. I talk about normal day, but it's not normal day. We can. It's not appropriate to say normal day because we are avoided on the edge of the world. Okay, I don't exaggerate. This is a reality. This is true. We're suffering until when I get released, camera everywhere, as they say, searching. Even when I get released, swear to God, take me a couple months. I wake up like a scared. I look in the room on the camera. And the first day when they reached me in Algeria, I swear, I don't know how to walk because they escort you with the shackle. To imagine you walk like what the animals
penguin,
yeah, swear like that always. When I can say Allah accept our our suffering, our happened to us. Is the past. We move on. We start a new life, new future. We share our experience to our humankind, hear our story, to get positive, to get better, and thank you, Malcolm.
Thank you.
I would like to ask something, Brother Mao, about like the normal day, like without talking about abuse, what's so on. Basically, as you know, Guantanamo itself was turned into an experimenting facility on prisoners. So like that under the supervision of psychologists, consultant advisors, and so on. So the relationship, there was some kind of friendship between brothers and guards, prisoners and guards, because those guards were told these men, the worst of the worst, vicious killers. We get there, they will kill you. When the guards came, like as you know, one of the reasons there is uncertainty there because the administration keeps changing every 6 or a year. So, but when the guards came there, they already programmed and told these people are terrorists. When they come live with us, they become part of our life, like watching us eating, drinking, sleeping, and so on. But that something catch their eyes and their attention that these men are not a terrorist. Many of them starting interacting with us, talking to us, asking questions. They found brothers speaking different languages, well educated, and so on. And that, the curiosity, some of the guards start apologizing. They said, guys, we were told you are terrorists. Some of them actually become friends. Some of them actually converted to Islam, as you know, some of the brothers and sisters. So the rules of Guantanamo, it's not just, we were not the only victims of Guantanamo. The guards and campus staff were also victims of the system that created Guantanamo. It was Guantanamo itself. As you know, James C. and other guards who were arrested, charged with crime and like espionage and so on. But I believe that in the goodness, as Umar said, in people, So yeah, there was some nice people there that treat us well, but the system itself crushes you every single day. Not just that, you are living every single day with the consequences of the torture, abuses, and so on.
You know,
Sorry,
you know,
just to explain that Mansour mentioned James Yee. James Yee was a Muslim chaplain. He was a captain in the U.S. Army and essentially an American soldier. That didn't stop him being a Muslim, because he's a Muslim, to be arrested, to be charged with espionage, to be charged with spying for Al-Qaeda and God knows what, and to be imprisoned in a U.S. military brig. So this is really important. People understand that the anti-Muslim hatred and Islamophobia transferred right across the detainees into some, at least one or others of the soldiers. Yes, right.
Just one point. To avoid, because in the last, I am talking about the last years before I release, because they started, the brothers, they start to learn English, they start to study English, and it is me by of course. So we started to make some kind of relationship between us and the guard. But what the government, what the administration did at that moment, they issued a rule that you are, as a guard, he is not allowed to talk to a detainee by himself. If you want to talk to a guard, you have to call for another guard. So what exactly he did? You, as a detainee, I cannot talk to a guard face to face or one to one. If I want to talk a guard, for example, for anything I want, he should not come alone to me to talk to me. He should come with his colleague. So that means it will be so complicated to find someone to start with, for example, to highlight some issue with him, or to build some kind of relationship. Yes, this is a good guard, but the other one, with his colleague, he cannot start to be open with you. He cannot start, for example, to talk about some issues that you want to share with him. So that just to make
Sofiane, you were going to say something.
You know what I mean, Mazam? I just one second quick. When they find out some good guard, okay, to us, they are curious. Many of them, they want to learn from us, as you experience. They and when the guard, they escort me one time. It's funny things. They say, "Oh, Mike," they insult themselves. We are stupid. They at least they speak 5 languages: French, Arabic, this Italian. We are stupid. I remember that action, and also they found out we are human like them. We show them story, they found out the good God. They take him away. Don't see him anymore. They take him away. Even in charge guard or watch commander or in higher up, they take him away because they do the job like nicely, like human being. They do the job. They apply the rules. Yeah, and I want to take something funny. It's the last thing. When I was released, I got released. They put me in airplane on 13 March for 2 hours. This is funny things to happen to me. And they turn around and Guantanamo. And the colonel and the commander, they show me, "What are you doing here?" I say, "It's a good question. I ask you what I'm doing here for 2 hours. After I stay like almost a month, and the April 1st, 2022, and they put me on. Even I got released an airplane. I'm not like feel safe. This is what happens. Funny things to happen. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the crimes that exists to this day, I think, in Guantanamo, it's called fraternization with the enemy. For the Americans, if a soldier is found to be too friendly to or close to a prisoner, it's a criminal offense in the military for which you can get charged with a crime. Omar, my own experiences were, especially in solitary confinement, something similar to Abdul Latif, that he said that they tried to bring 2 afterwards so that only one there couldn't be a one-on-one conversation, because in one-on-one conversations, people are very different to how they are around a peer group. As an English speaker, I found, people would communicate with you if they're alone, and you could build a relationship. How did you find other soldiers, Omar, that communicated with you when they were in the privacy of just you and them?
Well, I've had guards that told me that they prefer to have me as a neighbor over most of the guards they work with. I didn't have, like, I know some the other brothers, they were much more talkative. I know I had the advantage of language, but I didn't interact as much. But I did observe how, like, guards initially, when they would new groups or platoons or whatever they call them, guards would come to Guantanamo, they would be so jumpy, and I could just imagine what they are told about us, that, you know, if they get a chance that they're going to bite your head off or whatever. And like, and then with time, all of that kind of wears off. It's a house of cards that is very shallow, that has no standings, and with time, all of the fake things that they are told kind of wears off. I've had some guards that weren't very nice, but majority of them, they've been fine.
I remember something, Omar. It happened to us in Iraq, if you remember. Excuse me. And one guard from the guard, he was from Canada. He gave us Coca-Cola, if you remember that. I was with you in Iraq. They gave a small bottle, you and me, because of you. Coca-Cola in Iraq. Do you remember that? I remember exactly.
I don't remember that.
I have to warn you guys, there's a boycott against Coca-Cola.
I know.
Yeah, do you remember, Omar? Do you remember that? And Iraq.
I don't remember the life.
Yeah, I remember very well. Yeah, it was from Canada. He say, I'm American, but I am from Canada. You know, he has some, yeah. And he give you gifts in Coca-Cola, you and me, because of you. Okay, that's nice. Sorry for your
So one thing I wanted to mention, which is really, you know, obviously my experiences was in the first 3 years, and in that period of time, there was a lot of talk about Guantanamo and conferences and so forth. And we had some former soldiers that came to the UK to seek forgiveness. There was a guy called Chris Arendt, and he met with a whole load of former Guantanamo prisoners, all the UK ones. And we toured around together in a tour called Two Sides, One Story, where he spoke against Guantanamo, and he joined us. And then during the tour in the city of Hull, he took his shahada. And there's of course another one, Terry Holbrook's Mustafa, that some of you, I'm sure you will know of them. And there's also there's a case of this sister who sent me messages on Facebook. And she's a Hispanic sister, and she said she became a Muslim after Guantanamo, after seeing the interactions of the prisoners, how they dealt with one another, how they dealt with trauma and difficulty and hardship. And she said that seed of love for Islam was sowed in her heart in Guantanamo by seeing the actions of the brothers. I just wanted to share that with you, which I'm sure you must have heard of. There's a question, Mansour, I think here, that probably you or maybe any of the other guys would answer. What happened to the art created in Guantanamo? What became of the art?
So basically, in short words, the art from Guantanamo started late in 2010, and in 2017, prisoners were allowed to send their art through the lawyer, through the ICRC, and so on. After we exhibited the art at John Jay College in New York in 2017, that Pentagon pissed off, they got angry, mad. The spokesperson said they would burn art from Guantanamo. And that time, Trump administration banned art from leaving Guantanamo. We spent years fighting for the release art from Guantanamo. Eventually, at the end in 2022, they allow prisoners to take some of the artwork. Alhamdulillah, when I contacted some of the released brothers in 23 and this year too, they said they managed to take their artwork with them. There is some confiscation of the artwork. So this is like short answer. But from 2017 to 2022, they were not allowed. They were not allowed to take any artwork with them. And you know, now we are trying, inshallah, to organize an art exhibition in London and maybe in other places, inshallah.
Inshallah. I'm going to ask the last question, unless anything else comes in. I wanted to ask all of you, rather than to get a closing remark from everyone, you've seen upheaval in Gaza. You've seen the prisoners stripped naked, made to kneel, and dragged away by military. Of course, that would have reminded all of us, and it did, of our own experience. But also, the second part of the question is that we've seen the fall of Damascus and the opening of the prison, and particularly in Sednaya, where you've seen thousands of prisoners and perhaps hundreds or tens of thousands of prisoners who could have been killed. Some of you may recall that a part of the United States rendition program to black sites was the outsourcing of torture and sending people to Syria. And I know individuals personally who were sent to Syria and were tortured. Just the last thing I want to ask all of you is, what goes through your mind? A, when you see the images of prisoners in Gaza and how they're dressed, and B, when you see and learn what happened when people were being sent to quote unquote Muslim countries to be tortured. So if I could ask Abdul Latif to start off with that, please. You're on mute.
Yeah. So first, when United States created Guantanamo and used the torture in a very terrible way, and forcing people to live in a very degrading way. So all this action, it happened under the name of security, and this it is a direct, or it is a dangerous message to the world that it will be okay to ignore the human rights or to ignore the dignity of people when it is convenient. And that's exactly what is going on about the genocide that is going on now in Gaza. It is under the name of security. It's the same name that. So what should, for example, the Israeli government to be blamed, as long as the United States is the one that created this. The same things about what happened in Sednaya, for example. So honestly, sometimes we feel that there are some government, for example, like Bashar Assad government, and also there is some issue there because United States, it try always to play on some controversy issues between the people. For example, you know that because, as you know, in Syria there are more than 13 million are all Sunnis, are the one that they are transferred, and they are living outside. And so the United States, it play on this issue. So as long as the government, it is sectarian government, and they know how the government treated the Sunnis people. So why you cannot try to take the Sunnis people, because they are all the detainees in Guantanamo are Sunnis. So why you cannot try take them, because we know how we will be treated. So this is the issue that yeah.
Thank you very much, Abu Latif. I mean, that's a really powerful point in relation to that Israel and the rest of the world, indeed, whether it's the opponents of America or not, can always cite America as the reason that we can do this because America does this. That's exactly the right thing. Thank you very much, Abdul Latif. Omar, what goes through your mind when you see those images, those horrific images, but from two different, politically perhaps two different places, but physically the same? Bashar al-Assad torturing people in Sednaya, and the Israelis making prisoners kneel naked while they're dragging them off.
Well, when I see these things, the reflection I'm making is that, you know, we need to have a call out to the people of the world that we have to shed this idea that governments will do the right thing, because unfortunately governments is what caused that. So whether it's in Palestine, what's happening in Gaza, this is by the backing of the West. Or what happened in Syria, because these were puppet governments that were supported by the West. As people of the world, we need to stand united. We can't afford to be complacent. Just because it's not happening in my backyard doesn't mean that it's not going to affect us. We need to stand together. We need to unite as humans and know that if it could happen to them, it will for sure happen to us. Nobody's immune to that.
Jazakallah khair, Omar, for that. If it's just because it's not happening in our backyard doesn't mean we're not affected. That's a very, very powerful point for us to take away from this. Sufyan,
Yeah.
what reflections do you have when you see the prisoners in Gaza and Sednaya and what happened from these two different places?
Of course, you know, they mention almost everything, and when I say I feel what they feel, okay, I've been experienced. Prison is prison. Even you have a God that they say, oh, well, country have God, you have everything what you want in prison, you're not free. What do you mean it's not free? You're not free. First of all, I want to mention something interesting. When they put it in Guantanamo, they choose Guantanamo land because why? For their safety, okay, and we can escape. And the most important, because we put the detainees in the U.S., in America, they don't apply for and Gitmo, we don't apply for U.S. Rules. When they go there, they're afraid, to get security and safety. And the last thing we can do, reimburse like money. We can, go in court to give us our 20 years for our life, take our life, our soul for 20 years for nothing, without charge, without trial. This is they choose, not just raid them, to put it in Guantanamo, no. And also what they use technique in Israel or Syria or any land, they same American, they teach them same technique. They try to destroy their soul, their mind as they can. They use every technology, every technique in Guantanamo Bay to fight us. They say, they announce, they say, how you get stronger? We use our powerful thing to destroy how these people, they say, from the God, from the higher up, between us when we talk, some good, like they have conscious alive. They say to us, I say, we get strength from Allah, from the God, not us. Not us, not us. This is what I feel what they feel. They whose house power and this world, the power, they would do everything ever they want. Like America, you have power. They say, I don't know what I want. Israel, the whole world watching. I feel what they feel. Prisoner is prisoner, detainees is detainees. You can't change that. I hope that they get released for everybody. Thank you very much.
That's a beautiful thing to finish on. I feel what they feel. And that is, if there's anybody that can feel the pain of other oppressed people, it's those who have suffered oppression themselves. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove the oppression of all the oppressed. Mansoor, finally, to end with you, this wonderful session we've had, the last word is with you regarding how do you feel when you see these prisoners and the aftermath of what's happened to them?
I feel anger, sorrow, painful. I have been to the black side, you've gone to a server, but I cannot compare, because when you talk about the Israeli president, it's a slaughtering, children, women. I never thought in my life that is somehow people debating whether raping prisoners is illegal or not. Have you thought about in your life that would happen? If you look, we'll see what's the common thing between the prisoners inside in Syria, in Israel prison, in Guantanamo, black site, or Muslims. And the so-called global war on terror the product of that was legalizing torture, targeting Muslims and Muslim communities. And the black sites were created in Muslim countries, in Morocco, in Egypt, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, and so on. And brothers were taken. I know Syrian brothers who were taken to Syria and they were killed in that prison. If the CIA want to kill someone in the period, they will torture him badly, they will send him to Egypt or to Syria. I met with the Syrian brothers who were in Guantanamo, and they said Guantanamo is heaven compared to what had been in. So when you ask me, you know, the worst pain I have ever felt, seeing our brothers and sisters in Gaza and other places being tortured, abused, raped, killed, unable to do anything for them. Like, how many prisoners are killed, have been killed in the Israeli prisons for the last year and a half? And how many will be killed? Children being imprisoned and tortured, raped. So when you ask me, yeah, I feel sorrow, I feel anger, I feel sad, I feel like I cry. Wallah, I cry a lot because I can't do nothing. I feel guilty for not doing anything, for not doing enough. And the entire world is watching. So when you're asking, we need to do more, we need to stand up, because this war is not just in Palestine or Gaza and Arabs, it is on humanity. And many Muslims who are not Muslims who spoke against the war in Gaza and genocide, they were fired, they were affected, they were imprisoned and beaten and sentenced and so on. What does it mean? It's a war on humanity. It's the core of humanity and the principles on us all. And it's going to catch up. I'm sorry, I guess emotional.
No, I think that's exactly what we need to hear. That's how we need to end this conversation, with passion, with hope, with love, with care, with faith. That's exactly how this conversation continues to the next generations. It doesn't continue by singing songs of happiness and we're all joyous together, not while our brothers and sisters are getting slaughtered, or there's an aftermath of some of the biggest mass graves in modern history, as in Syria. So it is important that voices of experience, and there is a huge amount of experience and knowledge and understanding and suffering and coming out of that in just this hour and a half that we've been sitting here together. It's been my privilege to be speaking to all of you and to hear from the rest of those who are watching. My final call, it's imperative, especially for those who continue to suffer from the aftermath of Guantanamo, like Sufyan, like Abdul Latif, and many others, that the fight to release the prisoners not only continues, but to support those who've been released is imperative. You don't just take somebody out of a traumatic situation and throw him into the streets. So this is imperative that all of us come together. Please visit the site cage.ngo. Please help to support the Guantanamo Survivors Front. Please help to raise awareness for those who are still there. We're still fighting, making sure whether it's we're in involvement directly in negotiations for the releases with the prisoners, relatives, and lawyers and governments. So we make that commitment that inshallah, bi'idhnillah, we'll continue to do that until our last breath. And we will bring to you voices like these here, who will speak to you about a subject like no one else can. It's been my privilege to be able to host that. So jazakumullah khairan to all of you. May Allah bless you all, protect you all, keep you safe, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you happen to be in the world. Stay blessed.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Please don't forget Gaza. Free Palestine, free Gaza. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, everyone. Next man. Thank you.